Welcome to listening to Paint Tribe with Mike and Dan, a podcast about the art and hobby of miniature painting. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan. Thank you for joining us as we strive to become better, braver, happier painters.
Well, Dan and I this year decided to split up and go to two different conventions. Dan was at the NOVA Open right outside of Washington, D.C., and I was down at ReaperCon right outside of Dallas. And both of us had an amazing time, and we wanted to kind of debrief and talk about both of the events.
So as Mike said, I got to help out with NOVA Open. I've been doing this for about 9 months, 10 months by now. And I had the privilege of helping with the capital palette this year, as I normally do. And yeah, that's an awful lot of work to do. I was lucky enough to have some folks that wanted to help, and that was definitely a needed reprieve of doing things by myself, because definitely that's not fun. But I had people to talk to besides just the artists that would come up all the time and listening to people ask questions, and then the judges that would come in and help out. So let's see. Setup was on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and we changed it around a little bit. So we used to have the U around the right side of the area when you go down the escalators, and we decided to move things so we were in front. So it was just a long, I guess, display case with a little bit on the side. I think it was provide a little bit more visibility, and when people did come up, they weren't stuck in that little bowl that we had on the other side. So pretty cool. Gave a lot of flexibility for people to move around and look at different pieces without all being stuck in one little location. And when you come right down off of the escalator, you're right there. So that was in a pretty prime location. So I got to thank the folks for letting me set up there. Same old cases. The cases all worked. We put new light bulbs in some things. Set the photo booth, and we had a full-time photographer this time. So that was super helpful, and I had an awful lot of fun. And I probably need to put him on my list of people that I need to thank for later on, because I think he did a good job and he helped out a lot. So,
hey, what did you do about the security side of it? I know you were worried about having someone down there.
Worried about security, so we had a paid security person. I was there most of the time anyway, but there was paid security, and we've always had a paid security. So I did not have to worry about anything. We do have locks on all of our cases. We don't let them sit out there for all that time. Plus, if you have, we got some beautiful pieces, so we had to make sure that we were keeping things locked down. So that was all good. Didn't have to worry about that much. Boy, I don't even know where to begin. I talked about prep, talked about setup. That was Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's see, Thursday. After I realized that my podcast skills kind of suck, I took a class on how to grow your podcast. And that was actually really cool. So if anybody's thinking about it, Craig over at Third Floor Wars put that little class together. And there were only a few of us in there. But it was really cool just to ask generalized questions about like kind of equipment to do, how to set up interviews, all kinds of like fun stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only class I was able to take. I was supposed to take a picture, or take a picture. I took a picture of everybody. Take a class with Oscar Lars. So I met him like 6 times before I realized who I was actually talking to. Because I watched a little bit too much of The Office, and thinking Oscar would be a little shorter. And so yeah, yes. So I kept missing it until I like have his badge in my hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like an idiot right now. And most of the time I was an idiot anyway. But yeah, it was fun. And then just as people came in and you got to check them in, you get to see, who they were, and you're like, oh yeah, I get to put your face with a name now, or, meeting old friends, which was really cool because we all haven't seen each other in many, many years. I don't even know where to go from there because there's just so much stuff. Oh, I got a swag bag. I got a Sisters of Battle Kill team, and I got some like Ice Cube things. I got a bunch of figures. I probably should just say who these people all were. Uh, Corvus Valley gave us some stuff, and Weird Games gave us some stuff. So if those Malifaux folks, I got some stickers. Here's a sticker. Ooh, it's upside down and backwards for Mike. I'm more excited. I got mouse pad.
Did you? What Malifaux?
I'm gonna tell you all this stuff now since Mike has got like, yeah, well, I got like a bazillion times more stuff than you did. So suck it, Dan.
No, not even that. I just want to know what the Malifaux figure was.
Oh, I'll bring it to you this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a shot glass and magnets. We got magnets, which is really cool.
Did you get any metal ice?
I did. I got one. Boop.
You got one metal ice cube? You know that's going to sound awesome on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I know.
Shaking that in front of the microphone.
It's better than shaking this. Sorry.
You know that's totally staying in. I'm not taking it out.
That's channel. Yes, that's all on channel 1. Everybody
listening to Paint Dry After Dark.
Yeah. So, geez. I don't even know where to start, Mike. I guess you're better at telling these kind of stories. So I hung out with the guys at the Meg Bay, Josh and Denham. Mm-hmm. So they both came down.
Have you guys figured out what mech I'm painting yet?
Yes, you're painting a Battle Master. I thought I told you that.
No, nobody told me that.
Okay, so I'll bring you my Battle Master or one of my Battle Masters, and that will be your responsibility. I was going to have them on the show to talk to you about that.
Okay.
But since I haven't been able to coordinate with them,
it's fine.
Yeah, so you're going to have a Battle Master that you'll be painting up, and you can go look whatever you want to paint it as. I don't think they gave you a paint scale or a paint.
They wanted me to do something obscure.
Yeah, you just go look on the camo specs and find something, or just type in Battletech paint, and then you'll have like a bazillion things. It's not like 40K where you have to paint a certain way. It's just like whatever you want, because you can use you can use bottle caps if you want to as mechs, because that's how flexible we are.
Nice. You know, there was a Battletech game that went on at Reaper too.
I'm sure there was.
But there was also a whole system that's a competing system called CAV.
Yes. Yes.
They had a huge presence at Reaper. I guess Reaper prints their miniatures.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's Drop Zone, Commander, and
there's some competitors, right?
Steel Rift. Hey, they're big stompy robots. Why would you not want to have competitors?
I will say though, a BattleTech mech won a bronze in Ordnance. They got a bronze medal. Yep.
We had Diorama. We had 2 mechs, and then we had a Lance got bronze.
There might have been a BattleTech diorama that I missed because the way my Saturday was crazy because I had 3 classes, and so I didn't get to see any of the Saturday entries. Like all the people that have full week-long passes, your entries are due on Friday by 5 p.m. And then they have Saturday people who come only Saturday, and they put entries in until 3. And so they have a chance to enter. And so those are all put in the same, are kind of separated out. So it's easier for the judges. And I only got in there for like 30 seconds. And then I realized that I had to go get ready for my next class. And then Dev and I tried to do an interview, and I looked up and I'm like, dude, why are you making me do this interview? I got a class in 10 minutes. So,
yeah.
But anyways.
So let's see. So we hung out with them. I was privileged enough to have Eric Swenson come down during his breaks. That was a real joy because we just like chit-chatted and stuff. And that was pretty cool. That really broke up my days. And so it was always good to see him when he coming down the stairs. Will would always store his stuff down in my area also. So that was always a joy to have Will jump around and chat for a little bit.
Yeah, he's a low energy guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody should give him something like
some Red Bull or something.
Yeah, because got to wake him up sometimes. Because there's not enough energy there. But everybody else was pretty busy. I didn't even float around very much in any of the game systems except for BattleTech. So I hung out with those guys for a while because we finally got BattleTech at Nova Open, so I was pretty excited. A decent turnout. We'll see what happens next year, and I'll leave it at that. The folks over at Death Ray Designs created all the buildings and made like objective markers and little tanks and stuff like that to use for
Oh,
the game.
geez.
And
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they had some really cool mats. I can't remember who made the mats because I would throw them a bone also, but I can't remember. But it was cool just to talk BattleTech folks, talk with them. They're just we're just a different class of old folks and old people. Let's see, geez. So vendors, I could talk about vendors for a long time, but it was really nice to see vendors and be able to put your hands on things again. Definitely got to throw something out to Kit from Game Envy. I got a chance to talk to him again. Always love just stopping by his booth and talking to him for a couple minutes because he's just a stand-up guy. So I got some replacement for my my Arsenal paintbrushes, the Sable ones, because I burnt through my other ones. So I grabbed a couple of those. I didn't buy anything else, but he's got some really cool plinths though, and he's got this thing where he what's it called when you make them on a lathe? I forgot.
Turning.
And then I guess it's turning them.
Yeah.
And then he has where he pours resin in them and it makes them pretty cool looking.
Nice.
So so they're really, really neat. So I have to grab some of those. And I totally forgot, like, by the time I was like, oh, I got to go back and go talk to him. But again, he's a cool kid just to talk about and everything and talk to. So let's see. I can't even think. I could talk about all kinds of little things, but that was, I mean, for all in all, that's just, on this side of the convention where I'm not taking classes. I'm eating for 5 minutes and then running around to go do something else and making sure that all my volunteers are helping out. I want to make sure that they're getting out and having breaks and enjoying themselves also, because there's no need for them just to sit around.
Right.
Go out and have fun. I know that they all did want to run off to the award show. I did not stay for that because I wanted to try to get everything all packed up. So they split up into two buildings because we have so much stuff going on. So the Renaissance across the street is where they had like their Hobby Haven. They had the thing called the Cantina, is where you can get some overpriced food. But it was good food. It wasn't like junk. It was, like someone actually made the food. And let's see, what else was there over there? That's where the bar was, and the band and stuff like that. And we had the award show over there. So trying to redirect folks after years of going up to the lounge at the very top floor, we just had to step outside and just go across the street. So I think a couple people missed the show because of that. And it's kind of funny because I didn't even know where it was until the last day. Because that's how organized I am. I think we had a great turnout, as we can as we kind of expected, and kind of were figuring what happened. But Will did bring Scarlett, and she won practically everything. It's a beautiful piece. Even when you look at it in person, people just stared at it, and there was just always a blob of people there that were talking about the piece, and all the masters stuff were fantastic. I don't know how the judges are able to go through. I know they're looking at very technical aspects of it, but there's such wonderful pieces in every category. But she came up front, and now she will have to be retired. And I told them that. I was like, "Yep, you've been showing her off for a year or so, and she's done. She's got to be retired. Put her in a museum somewhere. You got to make something new." So he said he's working on it. So
unless he takes her I think he could take her internationally if he goes to Monty. No, I don't think he's been international yet.
Well, he might as well. He would get some sponsorships and have him fly him over there and
right,
and get himself some big old fancy European trophies and stuff and medals. So before you asked me some questions and everything, which I think you're going to do, I do want to do and say a couple of thanks to all the folks that helped me out. So we have David and Patricia. So they were the main ones who helped me out during the whole time. And then we had Dave, Allison, and Nick. They helped out on the last day, and David got to pack his own awards bags, which is funny, but he didn't know it. I did. I just laughed about it when he wasn't looking, because he was just trying to pack all the prize support, because each team is responsible for their own. So I think for the apprentice and journeyman, we got them some good stuff, as good as we can get. Some paint, some wet palettes, airbrushes, just something to say, hey, continue the good job, keep on pushing forward, especially with the apprentice, because we want to make sure that they're coming back. We want them to be engaged and be happy about the hobby. So we try to give them a little bit more to keep them in. Plus, most of them just only have paintbrushes and a couple paints. And they say that straight up. So now they got hooked up with, the airbrushes, wet palettes, lots of different brushes, lots of paints, knickknacks, and things like that. And they get a swag bag too, I think. So they probably have a kill team they can paint too. So I guess we'll have a lot of 40K next year also. And then Peter was our photographer. I'm not going to forget him. He spent a lot of time.
Wait, hold on. Go back to that. There was a lot of 40K stuff at the Nova Open.
Yeah, I know. It was surprising. Weird. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, that would be like going to like ReaperCon and not expecting to see like Reaper minis there. So it was just kind of weird. Yeah. So, yeah, and Peter, who was our photographer, I wasn't expecting to get one this year, but he came through and he did a fantastic job. Looking forward to working with him again next year. Hopefully we'll get him in there for full time, pretty much. He did get to stroll around at times, but having the help that I had allowed everybody to take breaks, and I think that was super important, because I have had those times and have seen those folks. I had to sit in the same place for 10, 12 hours. And that's, that wears on people. You want to go out and have fun. You do this because you like the hobby. We don't want you to get stuck working for the hobby and not get anything out of it. But I think we'll have enough volunteers for next year also. I got a good group. So the more volunteers we have, the more fun stuff we get to do on our own. So if I get enough folks, I might take a painting class. So that is about it. I know I have like 45,000 other pages that I could write up and talk about. But I just, I don't talk a whole lot. So if you have questions, I would answer any of them, but I don't know how to do this free verse thing.
Do you have any numbers on the number of entries or anything like that?
I do, but I think I'm going to hold off because I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about them.
Okay.
We did discuss them, and we did, we had over 400. So for us, that's huge.
It's amazing. That's wonderful. That's one of the biggest ones yet, right?
Yes.
Not quite the biggest. I know the 2019 wasn't that was bigger, right?
No.
Or was it 2018?
No, this was leaps and bounds larger than any of those.
So wow.
What?
I said, wow. I thought then so this was the largest number of entries for y'all.
This was our largest. We've grown a lot. We even limited the number of entries that people could have, and we still crushed it pretty good. We are happy about that because you should be. And it was, like I said, it was a lot of work, but it was fun. We don't, what's that thing about like if you can't do it, you teach it, and if you can't teach it, you like do something else with it. But I can't do that either, so I just take people's figures and then I take pictures with them and say, "This is mine too. This is awesome." But
yeah, I can't wait to see what Will's reaction is to your Instagram post about Scarlet fitting in your book bag.
He's on vacation and he's pinged me so many freaking times. I keep telling him every time that he sends something to me, I'm like, "Go get your vacation, man. You've been working your ass off for a week. Go spend some time with your family. Don't worry about the rest of us."
Exactly.
but he's still excited and just like worked up because you probably are still talking to people also. You form these like super close bonds in a short amount of time, and it's hard to let that go.
Right.
So now he's with his family. He's hopefully on vacation and enjoying himself, and he's forgot about Nova Open and classes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Not really. I'm still, it's weird. I'm trying to do, like you talked about, we're decompressing, what I mean? So like, I feel like I'll have more questions a little bit down the road.
Yeah. And it wasn't like we talked for like 4 hours yesterday.
Right. Really. Exactly.
And
That's true.
we got to talk about the stuff that we're not allowed to talk about on the podcast.
Not going to be on the podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's not even going after dark.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. So,
I mean, I was worried about you. You were very stressed going into this, but you did a much better job than I did the first couple of days of taking care of social media. And it feel like we almost switched roles, right? Like I was adjusting to first being there, and yours didn't really pick up till later. So you kind of filled in, you did the first part of it, and I kind of was more active, kind of after Friday. And so,
and I enjoyed it. And, I got some comments from the couple of folks that said they listened to the show. So I guess we got to start counting them now.
Dude, I met at least 40 people that were listeners of the show.
Dude. Really?
Yeah. I had people find me out and look for me, and I was so honored and humbled. And I'm, of course, what the number one episode everybody talks about. You can probably guess.
I don't have a clue.
Oh, come on! It's the Roman episode.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones that everybody talks about. They're like, man, all I wanted to do was paint after that. You know what I mean? I'm like that. Well, I'll tell Roman that because that's exactly.
True. Yeah, that's
true. That's what he wants to hear.
And that's one thing that that this has done is I'm getting that itchy finger to paint, but I'm not quite there. But a lot of folks that I met and talked to over the last couple of days, or last week or so, they're posting a lot more on Instagram. They're posting on Facebook, and they're painting. And I think for as little as I like to talk and talk about what I do, because I don't talk about that much, all the cool people that I met and all the stories that I have forgotten and all the meals that I've eaten and forgotten about, a dude ran up to me while I was packing up. The award ceremony just finished, and everybody's celebrating. They're talking to all the judges, trying to get a little bit of critique, and some folks are, asking questions and getting photographs. And this dude, and I want to say I'm supposed to know who he is, but he ran up to me and he's over like in the glass cases, and I'm back behind him, and he holds up I think it's a silver and bronze, and he's like, "Yo, dude, look what I got! Look what I got!" And I was just like, with all the shit that's gone down during the week, and all the other stuff that I really enjoyed, that just makes up for all the horrible stuff, because a few people came up and said, I didn't know I was in a running for anything. I wasn't expecting anything. I just put this out, and I had, world-class artists touch my stuff and think it was important, or it was good enough to be judged and get a medal. And that's why I put myself through this pain and this stress sometimes, because it's cool to see that. I love this hobby. I love the community. I want to see it grow and prosper, and that's the best way for us to do it. Even though it's, we all have our reasons for painting, but every once in a while, if you throw someone a bone and let them know that, hey, their stuff is valued, that's why you keep doing it. Plus, hey, you know what? The the executive board is pretty damn cool at Nova Open also. So they're good kids. So
good.
So
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that.
That's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
As you think about questions over the next couple months, maybe we can record it instead of just talking about it, because we'll go to like Arby's or Taco Bell or something and eat and drink and talk about all this stuff and say, "Damn, that would have been awesome to record."
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, you got to travel a little further than I did for your little vacation. So tell us about your exploits. And you can probably just mute me because I'm just going to drink my water because I'm parched.
All right. So my adventure, of course, started to how do
I don't even know. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead. What were we going to say?
You finish your thing and I'll interrupt you when you say Tuesday.
Oh, I started Wednesday. It depends on when ReaperCon started, right, for me, because from the time I decided that I was going to try to teach and Reaper accepted me as a teacher, I really kind of all my gears were focused on getting my classes together and everything. So maybe what I'll do is start there. So my experience for me is a bit unique. It was definitely unique for me that this was my first time being a teacher at a convention. I had taught one class, but I was like at the Kill Team Open. I was there one day, and it was a little bit of a different context. It was a 6-hour class, etc. This was a switch to 5 classes, an hour and a half each. I was also one of those classes where I was TAing with Dev from Raggy Paints, and so it was a total different world. And then throw in the fact that I actually had an artist table in Artist Alley. That was probably the biggest adjustment to me, is to being on the other side of that table, and people were interested in talking to me about what I was painting and such. And so I'll talk a bit more about that as we get down there, because it's I kind of had some surprising stuff, which was cool, but I just didn't expect. You know what I mean? So maybe. So one of the biggest things was that I learned was how poor my time management is. So we had constantly talked to artists about potentially doing interviews, and then boom, one or the three of us would have to go take a class, or teach a class, and it just never worked out until then. We finally were able to start cornering people Sunday, but as the morning progressed, my voice went away and away, and by the time I got home Sunday night, I had zero voice. And it's been a few decades since I've actually lost my voice. So I was worried, and I tested for COVID and everything, and came back negative. So I'm all good about that. It was just a matter of, I talked a whole bunch. It was 5 classes, talking to people and such. And so that was really interesting. I kind of, just for reference for people who may not know, the 5 classes I taught 3 basing, 1 desert, how to base for deserts, jungles, and ruins. All of which in the end sold out, which was pretty cool. I did have kind of a rough spot because I had that Saturday at 5 o'clock to 6:30, which is the time everybody goes to lunch or dinner before the award ceremony. And so, originally that didn't sell out till Saturday morning. And then a couple came to take the class, and then I looked up, I'm teaching the class, and all of a sudden they were gone. And so by the time we didn't even get to 6:30 in the class, and over half the class had bailed. And I felt really bad. I'm like, this is really bad. And they're like, no, we've got dinner plans. And I'm like, all right, but so overall though, and then I taught my Lost in Translation class, which was a challenge because I really want to look at developing that for a longer, almost even to a 2-day workshop type of class. So I originally thought I was going to teach it for 3 hours with 6 students at ReaperCon, and I did not convey that information to Reaper correctly. So I got 1.5 hours with 16 students. It turned out okay. We got through the presentation and then worked through the worksheets and the cube and the mystery mini and such, and everybody got a chance to explain their stories and talk about them. So it really worked out really well. So it was kind of a good audible that I called. I also did the same thing with my basing classes, because originally I decided to do a pre-build, which is kind of a presentation and talk about research and what jungles, deserts, and ruins actually look like, etc. And then go into building a base myself and then having them build. But I realized very quickly in my first class, which was jungle basing, that half of my class had never built a base before. So I just totally jettisoned the me building a base, and I was able to get and walk around, have them build, and I got to each student 2 to 3 times independently, maybe even on one of the classes I got to everybody 4 times. And so I thought that turned out pretty well. And so it was interesting, the feedback I've gotten has been pretty good, that people have enjoyed it and got something out of it. I'm hoping that over the next couple of weeks, while people have a chance to sit down and think, that they have, they send me some emails, because I sent everybody emailed the presentations and stuff to people so they could, keep it for a later reference, et cetera. And I asked them for feedback. I actually didn't want as much immediate feedback, especially for Lost in Translation, because I wanted people to kind of process what we went through. The initial feedback was really good, but it was really more, talk to me later. And I had some instructors that were also in that class too, which was a little bit intimidating. I'm like, thanks for being here. And so that was it wound up being pretty cool. Dan's raising his hand. What was it? What do you want?
I'm trying to talk to you.
I'm sorry.
I totally forgot you were doing the mystery figures. How did that work out?
Great. They just I ordered, so basically what happens when you're an instructor, that Reaper before the con gives you a gift certificate to go on and shop on the Reaper store to buy your supplies. And then you can have them shipped to your home, or I just did all my prep at the con. Cause I didn't want to travel. I'd ordered a few $100s worth of supplies. And so, I didn't really want that shipped and then have to travel back down with it. Next year, if I do decide to teach like this again, I will clip all the rubber bases off of them. A lot of those Reaper miniatures have the base as part of the model, so I'll make sure those are all clipped off before we go to class. We were able to get them all clipped off quickly in class, but I figured that was just one step that we don't have to even worry about. It went really well. I got envelopes, got everything printed out, and I think people. I think the way the worksheet is set up challenges people to organize their thoughts and think about things in kind of context of how they're building. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but the goal is to, even if it's not to create take your crazy idea. I used my sheets when I was struggling to figure out how I wanted to base a figure. And I'm like, all right, these are the elements I'll do. And this is trying to type of thing. And what are the theme? Well, it's steampunk. What's associated with steampunk? Gears and nuts and bolts and little pipes and stuff. So, I just kind of use that to kind of talk my way into a base. Now, do I think it's not my favorite base ever? It was passable. I knew that the figure was not going to be judged because it was going to be sitting there next to Quicksilver. And so I figured Quicksilver was going to get people's attention more than a 28 millimeter, steampunk Aquanaut, which I thought was a pretty good paint job. The face needs a lot of work. It needed a lot of work. But it still came out nicely. And I got some good feedback beforehand because I was originally doing it just as an exercise. I actually hadn't planned on bringing that to Reaper, or using it as a competition piece whatsoever. So. But probably, overall, the experience was amazing as far as that goes. One of the things I needed to say is that I'm not going to say names here because I will forget them because I'm really tired. But I have posted pictures of all the fans that would take selfies with me, or that would go on record admitting that they were fans of the podcast. And I really enjoyed getting to meet them. They made me feel so welcome there, and everybody did. I really felt like I didn't belong at first, like behind that table, but everybody treated me like I should be there, and with respect, and valued the feedback, I at least seemed to value the feedback that I was able to provide when they asked for it, and were interested in some of my processes. The biggest surprise to me was the reaction I got to the Honorable Geisha by Nuts Planet. That was probably the biggest surprise. Like that stopped, like I really thought, my talking piece was Quicksilver because, non-metallic metal, full body 80s TV show character. And it's kind of hit or miss if people actually knew of that cartoon or not. And it was a cool little Nebula background, which I'm really super proud of. So I really thought that was going to be what people mostly stopped to talk about. But most of the time, the piece that people wanted to talk to me about was the Honorable Geisha with the jade green kimono and gray pants framed by a red torii gate, which I've posted pictures of. And I'm going to post something. Somebody did something really cool with it. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I'm going to post it on Instagram. For people to see it, that somebody did some photoshopping with the background, and it looks really awesome.
That should be like your background from now on, because it's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, I was really honored that somebody would take the time to do it. And I mean, I have gotten, not only, was it there, I had a couple of people with visual deficiencies stop and tell me that my piece was the only piece they could really see with the Honorable Geisha and stuff. So it was really cool. It's also somebody posted about it on the Reaper Facebook page, which was neat. And so,
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was really surprised by it. And it's really weird because I think at some point you stop seeing your pieces for what they are. You know what I mean? I feel like I stop when I get to an end of a project. It's a lot of times I'm pretty close to hating it, and so. I grumped and groaned about Quicksilver, and I'm not 100% happy with the finished results, but I was happy with the process. You know what I mean? I enjoyed learning how to do the stuff. I made a lot of mistakes with it. I noticed a place that I have to absolutely have to correct if I'm going to put them in an upcoming competition in October, just because I will see it now. And I will convey through osmosis to everybody around. They will see that one spot that I missed. You know what I mean? The one thing that's really kind of funny is the one thing that nobody noticed is a good thing that I'm glad nobody noticed, but I'm really bummed that nobody did. The model Quicksilver only has 4 abs, and the bottom abs are not abs on the model. I actually painted those on. And so he has 6 abs and nobody noticed. And that's one of those things. I'm really glad I did it and nobody noticed, but I'm really bummed that nobody noticed because I worked really hard on those, And so it's always kind of funny, that type of stuff happens. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to brag on Reaper a little bit. In general, I will say this. They took such good care of me. Anything I needed as far as the classes go, they were on top of it. We had a hiccup with the airbrushing class Deb and I were supposed to teach. And it wound up Deb doing just kind of a breakdown and demo class, and me looking there. I was Deb's Vanna White for all those people that are older listening. But I was just there to look pretty and add some comic relief to it. But they did a great job, and Reaper took care of the students because it was originally billed as a hands-on class, and so it was really they're a pretty stand-up company. I got more swag than I could ever imagined that I was going to get. I have a couple bags basically of it. I did donate my remaining miniatures from my classes to somebody who does paint and takes at their local library. No, I'm sorry. No. What does she do? The woman sitting next to me, Michelle Farnsworth, the artist, who won Best in Show, took the minis and she was going to give them to somebody. I think I'm confusing that with 2 listeners that I want to have on the show, Ryan and Nicole, who teach free painting classes for children monthly at the library. Which I thought was pretty awesome. We have so many amazing people in the hobby, and so many of them listen to us, and it was really humbling meeting all those people. But so here we go. Total 963 entries in the Master Series Open. The previous amount of entries was 733, so they went up over 233 entries. 357 artists, 93 in diorama, 60 in open. Now, open at Reaper is sculpting, a lot of conversion work, right? It's not like the International Open or other ones, and it's not a catch-all. They are very strict about what goes into the open division. There were 52 in ordnance, 758 entries into painters. They gave out 29 certificates, 260 bronzes, and my Lord, they needed to start the announcements of the bronzes at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 125 silvers and 74 golds. It was really, it was an incredible turnout. It took me 3 separate occasions for an hour each to go through all the entries, like just to walk around and look at them. I dodged a bullet. I didn't have to do any judging. And so that was very lucky. Trying to think, I hate doing this, but I guess I'll just do it. I had a really good ReaperCon. My diorama I put in, which was an attempt at a 3D zombie movie poster, won a silver in diorama, which was shocking to me because I did not spend enough time on it. I got some amazing idea stimulation from Eric and from Chris Surhey. So if they ever by chance listen to this, thank you guys. And when I post it, I'm gonna definitely say thank you. But the painting wasn't good. The painting needed work. And you could tell that I did not spend enough time on it. I didn't even spend a full 2 weeks on the whole diorama once it was constructed. You know what I mean? I putzed around with it for months, but I really didn't concentrate on getting a paint job done. A couple of the figures in it I felt turned out really, really well, but there were a lot of figures and they all needed to be the same level. You know what I mean? My ordnance, which was my bucket list thing, that I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to enter a manufacturer contest and enter a vehicle, because I'd never done either of those. And so check on both of those. And now that, I'm surprised that it won a gold, and it also won a gold for the bombshell miniatures. And so that box is checked. Vehicles are done. Mike can move on to next, which is one of the lists on his list, something like a train diorama or something like that. The final thing was painters, and I got a gold for Quicksilver, which, by the way, for Stephen Garcia love out there, Captain Jonathan Quicksilver with Tallyhawk. Stephen always enters Lion-O as Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats. And so I make sure that, because the Silverhawks are the follow-on sister show, or Thundercats in space, basically, that I honor Stephen's legacies, the way he enters and put it fully in. And so they chose to judge Quicksilver over my Aquanaut, shocker, and the Anabagesha, which I called Sakura because of the cherry blossoms on her kimono. I believe that's called the kimono. Or I don't know if it's kimono or a gi, because it's a fighting outfit. Anyways, so that was really cool. Learned a lot. It's really hard to give people feedback, and when you're having struggles with your own self-esteem as far as being a painter goes, you are particularly sensitive. So you try to make sure that all the positives are accentuated, and you wonder why they want to listen to you. And hopefully for those that asked, I provided some value to them. I'm not sure what else to really go into, because, I talked about Reaper takes really good care of their people. It was a lot of fun. I got to hang out with some awesome painters like Clever Crow Studios, and I talked with Aaron Lovejoy. So, all right, this is a funny story that I am going to tell, although I probably shouldn't. So Dev Sodegar and I were going to run a lunch, Raggy Paints, and we ran into Aaron. Aaron bailed Dev and I out with an airbrush and a compressor to do for the demo class, because we didn't bring him because we thought we were going to have access to him, and such is life that it was just a miscommunication. So it wasn't, nobody did anything malicious. That sometimes stuff happens at a con. Shocker, right, Dan? And so, you know, Aaron, who is a very nice guy, he's very jovial, very friendly. Like gave us both a hug, and I kind of did the well-adjusted man thing and patted him on the back, and I patted way too hard. Like I totally Giuliani'd his back, and I felt really bad. Like I was like, damn, I'm totally socially awkward to begin with. This is one of those moments that's going to live with me in infamy for years. You know what I mean? And so I got to talk to him a little bit later, and he's like, you know, of course he's making fun of me. He goes, it wasn't that hard, dude. You know, you slapped I had a plastic shirt basically on. So, because they have their bowling outfits. But I thought that was pretty, you know, it was, hey, for all those people out there that are socially awkward, you're not alone. So, but yeah, every artist I met, I met a cool people from Canada. I posted, I don't want to screw up people's names and twitching times, and because I'm just really tired right now. So processing that stuff. We posted you on Instagram, and like everybody that we got a chance to meet, whether we had a selfie with them or not. I really thank you guys so much for making it a wonderful experience. An artist, Jeremy Doss, was on my left, and Michelle Farnsworth was on my right. They were amazing psychological support for me, and so was Pirate Monkey, Anthony Rodriguez. They really provided, you know, Anthony gave some great advice before I went into my first class. And, you know, of course, I have to give a super shout out to my roomie, co-teacher, and babysitter, Dev. I would not have. I don't know how I would have functioned that entire time without Dev. He took really good care of me. He was a great friend, and yeah, he's probably going to be looking for a new roommate. I can't stand that Dutcher guy. I left a pair of shoes. I left my painting light. I left my phone charger. So the amount of stuff I left in the hotel room, you know, yeah, it was, I suck. So, but that's kind of it. I mean, I want to say thank you to Reaper, for having me. It was an honor to be a part of the convention, and, to be in that list of names of people that taught classes. There were so many amazing teachers. You know what I mean? And you had amazing teachers at the NOVA Open too. It's just such a different, it's so interesting because it is having experienced both, they're just it's just a very different environments, and they're, neither is right, neither is wrong. You know what I mean? It is all about what you're attracted to, what, gets you going in the hobby. And so, that's why, you know, I feel like we have to cover both of them because they are so different. And you know what, you probably fit much more into the NOVA Open environment than I do. You know what I mean? I'm not into, I don't know the gaming. I was getting made fun of by my students for, trying to name characters in Dungeons and Dragons and different tabletop games, and I got them all wrong. And so, and honestly, as time goes on more and more, I'm losing, you know, I'm not really remembering like the old Games Workshop stuff, etc. And so, and that's okay because it's just where my hobby journey is leading me. You know what I mean? So anyways, thank you, Dan, for letting me kind of go off on the ReaperCon stuff. And again, thank you to the people I met. But dude, we have some great fans. They are just amazing. The people that I came across, that had listened to the show, I went through, I probably have about 20 stickers left, and it's only because I found some at the bottom of my tub.
If you give me those 20 stickers, I wouldn't have been able to hand all of them out because I just totally forgot to hand them out.
Yeah, I mean, I put them on my table. I put them everywhere I went, and they were just, I constantly had to refresh them. And, you know, it was crazy. I mean, it was wonderful. People were really interested, and our downloads really kind of spiked. Are
you putting this in a show?
Yeah. I'm saying thank you to all the people who did this. You know, this is a huge, of course I'm putting this in the show.
Okay.
We don't have a show without listeners, man.
Oh,
you know,
I thought we were just like talking to each other and stuff.
You didn't know I hit the record button?
That was just like the other night where we were just talking for hours on end.
So, but yeah, I think I am kind of done, man. That's all I had for ReaperCon. You got anything else to add for NOVA Open?
Yeah, maybe if you want to add this into the end of my thing, but I have to give a shout out to the folks that that kind of like make this thing happen. We wouldn't have an art show if we didn't have judges. So um, let's see. So I got to throw something out there to the judges: Vince Venturella, John Margiotto, Will Hahn, Dan Osborne with a Z, Eric Swenson, Caleb Wessenbach, and Uber Judge Dave Taylor. So I want to put a little something out there. Thanks a lot for making this happen and for helping us out. And I hope to see you all next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to run these conventions, you know.
It does, and it's this is just a little teeny weeny art show that we have. We have the judges. I'm sorry, not the judges. We have the referees for all the different game systems, and there had to been, I mean, from X-Wing to Magic the Gathering to Malifaux to, the people who had food, the store, 40K, AOS. You have those folks. You have the operations guys who are running around and answering people's questions and help with logistics and that sort. And then you have the Uber boss who's trying to answer all the questions from everybody who's saying, "Hey, how does this work? And can I print on your printer? And can you print this for me? And can I use your pins?" So, because those are the questions I asked many, many times. So,
Hey, I had to borrow the Dungeons and Dragons crew's pencils because I bought pencils for my Lost in Translation class and totally bought unsharpened pencils. I literally I reached for sharpened pencils, and for somehow my hand grabbed unsharpened.
Good job.
Because that's how I roll. That's how I roll. But
so you can put the list of the judges at the end of my thing if you want to. Or whatever.
Nah, it's all good. It doesn't matter what order it's in. So yeah, I mean, final thanks to Reaper and NOVA for those seem to be some stand-up peeps, Dan, and hopefully
they are.
Hopefully as we continue to grow the podcast, we'll be able to help support them as well.
I think next year will be a good year for us to support both of them if we're at both of them. Mm-hmm. I think we have the capability of doing that and do something for them. They're the cons that support our hobby, probably the biggest and most. So I don't see any reason for that. Right. And as we move forward with after we had our extended break over the summer, which was very refreshing, and we're done with this part, we might try to add little twist or a change here and there and make the podcast a little bit better for all of our listeners. Someday we're gonna have to get a count so we say the right name. I think you usually say like what 7 or 8.
Yeah. So, I think we're a little bit more than that now, which is nice. But the one of the things I tell listeners is that we are in post-con process trying to get interviews together with people that are trying to readjust to being back in the real world after con world. And so we'll have this episode. We actually have a non-con interview that's being conducted very soon, and that'll come out. So we're going to try to get back into a regular 2-week production schedule with stuff. We're not going to limit ourselves to the 2-week production schedule, but the goal is to try to get back to having something out at a minimum every 2 weeks. It won't always be the case because Dan and I have very poor attention spans. I want that they suck at painting so you don't have to on the back.
I am 100% of that. I can visualize it, so now I just got to figure out what the fonts are. But I absolutely, I am all over that.
Yeah.
So I have to do stuff. So okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. So we'll have some big news down the road. We're trying to get a couple of things organized. We will have there's going to be a lot of interviews. We have a lot of people that are very excited about being on the show. I have to admit that I met so many the instructors that I really didn't know. I knew of, but I didn't know who they were and didn't really know them as people. Were some of the most kind-hearted, hobby-loving, generous, time-given people that I've met in a very, very long time. And so we have a long list of people, including we'd like to get some of our listeners on the show as well, for them to berate us about how bad we suck. And we could take it to the ears for the team, just as a joke. But that's kind of all I got, really, Dan. We might have a programming note episode, like a, hey, this is where we are, 5-minute thing come out here and there.
I'm hoping that we'll have something before that. We're not going to.
Oh, I know. No. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like podcasts do it all the time. They do preview episodes, like, hey, this episode's dropping soon. You know what I mean? Like, yes, little audio bites.
Yes, we need to do the audio bites.
And so, anyways,
you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Listening to Paint Dry, or on Twitter at Dry Listening. We also have a YouTube channel titled Listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan.
Send us an email at listeningtopaintdry@gmail.com. Tell us what you're working on. If you were at either ReaperCon or NOVA Open, let us know how it went for you. If you had a chance to see us in action, we might have something for you.
You don't have to be a con man to become a better, braver, happier painter.
See ya. Listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan is a production of LTPTWMD. All rights reserved. No portion of this recording may be used without the express written consent of the host. The music is Death by a Thousand Questions by Springtide. Download from the Free Music Archive on a non-commercial attribution share-alike basis. All views and opinions expressed in the show are solely the views and opinions of the person who said them. All celebrity voices, if any, were impersonated and done so poorly.